Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Silent House. This girl, Sarah, who is fixing up her family's lakeside retreat with her dad and her uncle, when she discovers that someone is in the house making noises and hurts her dad, and she's trying to escape the house and not find who this unknown intruder is. What makes this film different is because it's all shot in one continuous shot, or so they say, although I saw a couple of places where there probably was a cut, but regardless, it's a horror film that's used with very little cutting, a lot of long takes. Maybe they did shoot it all in one super long take, I don't know, I really doubt it, but it's still impressive nonetheless. It's a genre gimmick movie. I like that element to it, and I like when she's in the house and kind of hiding from this presumed killer who you don't know who it is for the majority of the film. When you don't really know what's going on, you have no idea who this could be or why they're there. The film is actually works pretty well with its own gimmicky genre-ness, and that's kind of what I went to see it for. I actually kind of primed myself for it. I saw it at a midnight screening, not because I was especially amped for it, but I thought it'd be fun to walk there in the dark and walk home in the dark. I like being kind of turning all the lights off for a horror movie and kind of getting into it rather than seeing it. You see some of these horror movies with a bunch of friends and they kind of fall apart because they're really for it's like an old campfire story. You're not going to tell it in a well-lit mall. You tell it at a campfire, and it's way spookier because there's all this darkness. You kind of have to go into this movie that way because a lot of the logic, when she goes into the basement, no one would go into a basement. That's just stupid, but you have to have a real suspension of disbelief because if you really start to think about any of the things in this movie, it's just going to fall apart. One of the worst things horror movies do is explain themselves, and you actually know why they're doing this, and the explanation of how this started and why they're doing it. Usually that's my least favorite part of the horror movie. It's never done very well. I never really want to know, and then when I find out, I get really uninterested and just disappointed. And I think this ending, and as soon as it starts to explain itself, and there's a lot of misleading clues in it which don't really pay off, the explanation was just stupid. And then when you get to who the killer is and how this all happened, a lot of it you could have guessed at the very beginning, but some of it was so bizarre and just dumb that I don't think you would guess it, but it's not going to be a revelation that you're really going to like. I think it's 2/3 of a decent movie. It's not a great movie. It's not, I don't know if I'd even say it's good, but I think if you're in the mood for Silent House and you're want to see kind of a fun, scary movie, I jumped out of my seat, and it didn't really rely on cheap scares. They were kind of well built up scares, I thought, most of them. And I like kind of what they did with the camera a lot. There's one part where she runs away from the house that I kind of like that. I thought that was kind of cool because she's supposed to be panicking and freaking out, and you can't really tell what's going on. It seemed like they spent way more time focusing on the camera work, which was quite good. They did try to move the camera to make it look like different shots and kind of liven it up, so it's not just a camera just following Elizabeth Olsen and her dad and her uncle at certain parts. They really do try to move it around and kind of give life to it, and I think that was I actually really liked about it. So I think maybe if this film hadn't focused so much on its gimmick and more on the script, it could have been a better movie. But I like the gimmick of it and the gimmickiness of it, but it doesn't really pay off. And I think it's overall probably a very well-directed, weak horror genre movie. So if you've seen Silent House and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. So they only used one camera because they only used one camera, presumably.